Good morning, welcome back to my channel, Heartfelt Crochets by Darlene. Today is just a lazy day here in the state of Maine. It's a little cloudy and misty outside, and I decided I was just gonna have a chillax working day in my Corpse Bride t-shirt. So I am going to share with you 6 plushy amigurumi problems and solutions. I say plushy amigurumi because amigurumi toys are made using so many different types of yarn. You can use cotton, wool, just regular acrylic worsted yarn, and then you have the toys that I make and that a lot of people make and sell at their markets, which is made out of plushy chenille. As you know, if you've watched my videos, that's the yarn that I use to make my amigurumi toys. I am going to switch over to my other camera and my crochet tutorial whiteboard and share those problem and solution tips that I have with you. All right, let's go. Okay, so there are 6 problems that I find that are the most common, and they have all happened to me several times. The first one is chenille yarn that you end up wearing more that is on the skein than you end up putting into your toy. It just keeps fraying. The ends just keep coming right off. So, easy solution to that. Pull just a little bit off the end so you have your string showing. Then go ahead and burn that end with a lighter. And now it's not going to fray off. Problem number 2 is when you begin to use a new skein. You don't really like taking off the sleeve and then just having to keep on pulling, rolling around and pulling more yarn and tumbling, and it's a pain in the butt because you're pulling from the outside strand. Because when you were looking for the center strand, you're like, oh look, and it's like, oh no, wrong answer. So you end up tucking that in and trying to find the center one, and you keep on pulling and it's not happening, and it's like, oh my gosh. So no matter how much you pull, you're not going to find just a single strand. You're going to find a bunch of yarn barf. And what yarn barf is you go into the center and you feel, and then you find this chunk and you pull it out, and that is yarn barf. Now granted, you know, you have all this that you're going to deal with, but look, you found your end. So now you can work off this until this yarn is gone and then have your center pull, or you can cut it here and just work off your center pull and ravel this up and use it later. It's, you know, totally up to you, but the bottom line is you found your center pull, and now you don't have to mess with this skein flopping around. Just got to deal with some yarn barf. So that is problem and solution number 2. Now problem and solution number 3 is you've completed a project and it's time to stuff it. So you go ahead and you put your filling in, and you're pushing it around, making sure that you have plenty of filling, and then you notice you can see the filling because you have really big holes there's a couple different things that you can do to avoid that. The pattern called for a 6mm hook, and I wanted to use this Parfait Chunky Chenille yarn, and as a result I end up getting these big holes. So I can go ahead and just downsize my hook, which would end up making a much tighter stitch, and I wouldn't come across that problem and still be able to use my Parfait Chunky yarn. But my project will be a lot smaller by using a hook that is one size smaller. If you don't want to downsize on your hook, the second thing that you can do is switch yarns and go to a bulkier yarn. This is Vernate Blanket. It's still a number 6 yarn, but this is super bulky. This is bulky, this is super bulky. And using the size 6, you don't get those holes. So you can take that stuffing and you can stuff it nice and tight, and it's not going to show through at all. So 2 solutions. Go up to a bulkier yarn or downsize your hook. Okay, so that also brings me back to this one for problem number 4, which is you have made a bunch of decreases at the end of your work and you have major holes. Even with a smaller hook, you are still going to get bigger holes when you make a decrease this way. Okay, but if you do it invisible decrease, you won't get those big holes. So an invisible decrease is you would put your hook under the front loop only of the next stitch, and then put your hook under the front loop only of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through those 2 front loops, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Let's do that one more time. Okay, that's better. Now you can see the holes in between these decrease stitches, but the invisible decrease, look, you can't look at the difference. It's such a noticeable difference. So when you find that you have big holes in your decreases, do the invisible decrease. Okay, so that is problem number 4. Problem number 5 is almost every amigurumi pattern that you're going to come across when you make the head or the body, it is going to call for a magic ring with 6 single crochets in the magic ring, and then you would increase in each stitch 2 single crochets around, equaling 12 stitches. Now the problem with this is you're going to always end up getting this cone look. So the top of the head, no matter how much you try to stuff it and round it, it's still going to be a little bit of a cone. And the same with the body. You're going to stuff it and it's not going to sit right because you're going to have this cone that you're going to constantly have to push a hole in for it to sit. So instead of making the magic ring with 6 single crochets, just omit that first row and put 12 single crochets into the magic ring, and then continue with your pattern. This is going to end up being your result. Now I wasn't able to pull that as tight as I wanted. There we go. This is going to be your end result. Look at the difference. 6 single crochets in the magic ring, 12 single crochets in the magic ring, and then just continuing on with your pattern from row 2. So to me that's a huge difference, and it makes a toy look so much better, so much more uniformed. So that's problem and solution number 5. Now, using one of these, I'm going to go right into problem number 6. And that is, you have run out of yarn for your project and you want to tie a knot and continue on with your project. You make a square knot because square knots hold. But guess what? Square knots don't hold with plushy yarn. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the ends. So that we have some string on both ends showing. And we are going to tie a square knot using these strings. So if you don't know a square knot, we're going to put the left yarn over the right and then put the left yarn underneath. And then you're going to take the right one and put it over the left and tuck the left one underneath. And you're going to pull that tight. Repeat that square knot again because this yarn is so thin. And then snip those ends. And it's nice and snug and you can continue your work. It's not going to come out. Alright, I hope that you found these helpful. These are problems that I have come across. And I found a couple of the solutions online through other videos myself. So, you know, thank you to them. I'm not so brilliant that I come up with all these solutions by myself. So if you found this to be helpful, please give me a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. And come crochet with me. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time. Bye.